So I'm gonna have to ask you a question. Are you a serial killer?
I want to start with probably the most important thing. What is it like when Stephen King says positive things about your movie?
I mean, it's absolutely insane, right? The first book I ever read was Carrie in second grade, and I made it, I swear to God, I made it through the book. I think it took about 6-8 months. There's a lot of it I didn't understand, but I felt something deeply when I read it. And I got sent to the principal's office because I had this book, and my mother defended me. She's like, I don't let him watch rated R movies, but he's reading, you know? And so ever since then, I've been a constant reader, and Stephen King has become just a seminal, a centerpiece for everything cultural. And so the fact that he watched the movie was already a huge thing for all of us. And then when he said he liked it, I just thought I don't have to make any movies anymore. Like we're done. Like it was really important to me, and it was a really good moment.
I just have to point out that, and this is not where I meant to go, but did you just not write an adaptation of a Stephen King film that is being filmed right now?
I did. Francis Lawrence is directing a movie, The Long Walk, for Lionsgate, rated R adaptation of Stephen King novel, and I wrote it. Roy Lee's producing it, dream job, and I've seen some footage, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
I am so excited for that, but that's not why we're here. What is it like for all of you guys talking about a film where you can only say so much?
I personally really like working with restraints. You know, this feels good for me. I say too much in general, so I like to have some rules.
Give Giovanni your microphone, please.
I don't have anything to say right now.
We love talking about the movie. Can you tell?
Willa Fitzgerald, everybody.
I will, let's talk a little bit about the writing and the way you put the film together, and that is, so how did you figure out that you wanted to do this with like non-linear storytelling?
It wasn't something, I didn't want to make a non-linear film, although there are some great ones. It's just the idea came to me in that order, and I felt like in order, if the movie in order, because there was a point where the studio, without my knowledge, took it away and cut the movie in order and said, "Do you like this?" Like it wasn't a mean thing. They were just like, "Do you like this? This might be less confusing." And I watched it, and it was very conventional and dull, I think. And so the idea came in that order, and it had to be in that order. It's the only way that the story works, I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully you agree. Thank you.
I'm curious for everyone, besides you, what was it actually like for each of you reading this script for the first time and your immediate reaction, especially for you, because I'm curious, because this is a real juicy role. And I'm just curious, what was it like on the page for you as you're reading this thing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my agent actually was friends with JT for a while before we ever got to meet. And she called me when she got the script and she was like, "You have to read this script immediately. It's so good." And so I did. I read it the same day, and I called her back as soon as I finished it. And I was like, "You're right. I've got to get this job." And I remember, I think the experience of reading it for the first time probably wasn't dissimilar to your experience of watching the movie. It was a very intense read. And I remember also feeling kind of very anxious about the prospect of playing this part because it's a big undertaking. But I also just kind of had that innate sense that I absolutely had to do it.
So I had met JT, I think 7 years before I read, or 5 years, I don't know, I've lost count. And we had been exchanging material over that time period, and then he sent me this, and within 15 minutes, I was essentially begging him to let me be a part of it, and we started talking, and he was familiar with some of the things that I had shot, and he'd come over to my shop and all that, and the conversation evolved, and we just started figuring it out. And then I think that once the cat got out of the bag and other studios had read. Oh, there it is. Had read the screenplay. He, I think within 3 months, I think it was financed, and so there was definitely, something that I guess that we asked about the experience. It was like nothing I had ever seen, really, or read before.
Yeah, a similar experience for me in terms of just how wild a reading experience it was. We met on a hike. We met so very randomly, and in one of the few situations in my life where, like, you see the paths diverge. Like, I said yes to something I would never say yes to. And we met very randomly, and we kept in touch for a couple years. And like 2 years after we met, he sent me the script. We had had a brief conversation about sort of single artist soundtracks and music and film, and he sent me the script. And I read it and was like, what the fuck? In the best possible way. Because the movie that you see is so thoroughly written down. It's such an incredibly realized script. And yeah, I mean, for me, as like consummate queen of darkness and also like a just incurable modernist, it appealed to me on like a cellular level. So, if you're into that kind of thing.
So,
Steve Bellamy introduced all of us. Yeah, seriously.
I love learning about the behind the scenes, the making of shows and movies. So for the audience here who are now fans of the film, and for people out there that are soon to be fans, is there anything that you think would surprise people to learn about the making of the film?
Well, Roy Lee, if any of you get to meet him ever, you'll be lucky, because that guy is a magician and he just gets stuff made. So Roy Lee and Steven Schneider read the script. My agent sent it to them. Giovanni and I had been talking about getting this movie made, and it has very few characters, and it's contained. Like the early Polanski films, kind of very few characters. It's a very small, contained thing, and we thought we could make it for very little money. And so Vani and I were going to just scrape up the money and go make it somehow, And then my agent read it, and he's like, I think we can get something done with this. Can I send it to Roy Lee? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he sent it to Roy Lee, and like a few weeks later, the movie was financed. I mean, it was crazy.
Not normal.
No, it was
when
insane.
He told me, I just kept saying, this is the movie The Player. This is not real.
Yeah,
None
yeah,
of this
yeah.
makes any sense.
It was crazy. And but Roy really believed in the script, and he took it to Miramax with Steve Schneider, and they got it made. And in the pitch meeting, Bill Block at Miramax said, we're making it, just stop talking. And I was like, okay. And so we made it, and it became much more difficult than the getting it made process, the making of it. It was very challenging. But it became one of the, great learning experiences of my life, and I got to, work with my friends. It was really cool.
I would like to add that the most important thing to know from behind the scenes, I just found out the other day, which is about Squatchy. Yeah. I feel like that's a story that needs to be told.
So you remember the Squatchy part? Have you guys ever heard that term before? So there's a bar in Portland, Oregon, called the Lowbrow. Yeah, the Lowbrow. I recommend it if you go there. It's a really good bar. And we would scout all day long, and then we would drink into the night. Me and my producing partner, Giovanni, slept in the room usually. We had to have somebody who kept their shit together. But no, we went in the woods one day. We didn't drink all night every night, but my producing partner, Chris Ivan Sevig, and I were in the woods all day long one day scouting with you and Michael Zampino and all those guys. And then that night, we went to a bar. And we're sitting at the bar, and this guy's like, what were you doing today? We're like, we were scouting in the woods. And he goes, whoa. And I said, what do you mean, whoa? He goes, it's squatchy out there. And I didn't know what he meant. I said, is it like squishy, like the ground, like it's wet? Like there was a rain? And he goes, no, it's squatchy. And Chris says, like Sasquatch? And he goes, don't say it out loud. And so that's why Barbara Hershey says that. And I told him at that bar in 2021 or 2022, I was like, I'm putting this in the fucking movie. And And so we put it in the movie. But the strangest thing about it all was that we went to a restaurant the next day, and I was telling the story to our server, hoping to get some mutual like laughter. Like I thought we could joke about it. And I was like, this bartender said squatchy, and like there's Sasquatch, and she's like, don't say that. Like, and I said, she's like, it is squatchy out there. So I think it's like a thing in.
I think it's fucking squatchy out there.
In Oregon, it's fucking squatchy. So it was great, and I'm so grateful to the lowbrow for giving us that thing.
Anything else you guys want to add?
How are we going to top that?
I don't. You know something? You never know. So
You seemed very angry during the squatchy scene. You're like, squatchy? What's squatchy mean? When you're talking to Ed and Barbara, you seem very annoyed.
I don't think I was.
She's a non-believer, clearly.
I mean, yeah, I think it's
You were
like
super annoyed with
you
them.
sounded annoyed when you were telling the story about Squatchy. So maybe I just had the same reaction.
You were like,
as you had.
squatchy? You actually
yeah.
reacted exactly like I did.
No, I mean that's like a hard story to top. I don't know. Kyle and I lived together for like 2 weeks while we were shooting this movie, which is pretty unconventional in a cabin in the woods.
And they're both still with their significant others, which is super cool. Hi, Blaze.
And they're both still alive.
Yeah, no one died. No, it was kind of nice actually. You know, having a roommate. I haven't had a roommate in a long time.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's my fun story.
Budget was low.
I definitely want to. I have so many questions, but Giovanni, I want to actually ask you a question. This is your first. You've shot some shorts, and I believe. Right. You've shot some shorts and music videos. You've done some other stuff, but this is your first feature behind the camera, doing director of photography.
Thank you.
And I say this with all sincerity, like, you need to keep shooting movies.
Thank you.
You
Yes.
really did a great job with this.
Thank you.
And so I really want to know, can you guys talk a little bit about how you guys decided on the look, the colors, because I love your use of color, and I love the way you framed things, but especially the use of blue and red, and like you did a great job. So talk a little bit about how you figured out how you wanted the framing, the color, you know what I mean, everything about the look of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a 4 or 5 month prep period during COVID, so it really was just about knuckling down with JT and going over the movie and sort of making it on paper with a shot list before we actually went and made the movie in Oregon, and it was really detailed. I mean, I think we went through it, got to the end, and went back to the beginning, and went through it again and again and again until we could sort of sense or see the movie. And I think a lot of those choices, colors and saturation, sort of came from the idea that we wanted to do, and I don't even know why this rang, this resonated with us. It was just like making a fairy tale. So you have these two characters, and maybe it was just more or less to sort of offset the content or whatever was there, whatever they were going through. But it was also just to sort of try to go in a direction that wasn't intuitive, you know, and then to figure out how it might work or whatever. So, you know, I mean, I think there were so many things that I look at that I see other cinematographers or compatriots who watch it who sort of squirm, and that makes me so happy because it's just not what you see, you know. Even if it's wrong, you know, I just feel like we were just reaching for something that is just not like what you see constantly, or this homogeny in the visual image these days with streaming and all that, or they're buying it by the yard, so to speak. You know, we just wanted to sort of do something that I guess rattled the cage. And I think, I don't know if I'm accurate with all that, but.
Yeah, so I mean, we called it Blood on the Flower Bed.
Blood on the
was
Flower
our
Bed,
like
yeah.
mission statement, I think. And we were watching a lot of films that weaponized color at the time, like Cries and Whispers, you know, Dead Ringers, Blue Velvet, yeah. And movies that have such dark undertones but are
Mario
so beautiful.
Bava,
yeah. And the darkness just is bubbling up through the whole movie, and dichotomous with the the themes, or with the visuals, the red shoes, movies like that, and then other movies that were in black and white, like The Servant and Mademoiselle and all these films. But color-wise, we were looking at a lot of those movies that just popped and were candy-coated, and it was definitely the mood we were in when we were developing the look.
Yeah, I think that I was talking to somebody today. I'm going to go on a diatribe right now. Watch out. No, but with social networking and Instagram and all that, you can get caught up in a certain sort of tone that if you step out of that lane, you're censured for it in a way that is public, and where a lot of people see that, and so it becomes this ultra conservative mode in the zeitgeist. And I feel like I think that this is just absolute praise for this man sitting here, because he was so brave to take something that was so well written and then just try to fuck it up and smear it all over and work on it and work on it until we felt confident with something that maybe might be some, original or whatever.
Thank you, Vonnie.
I'm so curious because you guys shot on 35, and I fucking say thank you. But what is it like when you're, yeah.
Always a clap for film is good for me.
What was it like? Because you're shooting in Oregon. I don't know where the film labs are. So, how are you actually getting the film out in terms of, getting it developed? And also with 35, I don't know if you have, how it worked in terms of, looking at dailies and, making sure that the film came out. This is, filmmaking. So what was it like in terms of getting it developed? Where'd you send the film? Did you ever have any days that got effed up?
Yeah, so we had to do the traditional thing is if you're shooting in a city or a location that doesn't have a lab nearby, you do what's called a film break. You do it, when they're in a city with labs, but so you send the film out at lunch, and then you send the film out again at the end of the day. And so there's 2 flights that the film is traveling on, the day's film is traveling on. I think, again, it kind of goes back to this thing of convenience and the challenge. And I know JT feels like this, is the idea that, there's a certain sort of desperation in that. There's a certain sort of, it's hard. You need more lights. It's not like you walk into a room and flick on the overheads and then you're shooting and, modeling the actors there with some bounce. It requires more focus and more effort. And I think that you can see that in the fabric of films that are shooting celluloid, And so it's not, and the other thing, I guess maybe the contrast that is that it's really not that much more expensive. Definitively, a film will try to find a way to be more expensive. This is just a proverbial, and so no matter what you're shooting, film is the least expensive thing on a movie. But yeah, it's definitely, there's a different discipline, especially to what these young kids are used to.
It's true. It's not expensive. It's not. He's right. It's not expensive. My first movie, we shot for right around $500,000 before above the line stuff, and we shot film, and it's not more expensive. The line item adds money, but then you save money in post, and there's a lot of
a friend of mine's shooting Super 35 right now on a budget, a feature film on a budget of $100,000. Yeah.
I love hearing the people that are shooting film. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do I pronounce it as Z Berg? Do I say the whole thing or Z?
You can just call me Z. It's on my hand, in case I get lost.
You're her friend now.
I don't want to make it. I don't want to get it wrong. So here's the thing: you've done a lot of music. If someone's never heard anything you've done before, what's the first thing you'd like them listening to, and why?
Oh heavens! Well, obviously this. The album also comes out on Friday.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
But if you want to, familiarize yourself with me before Friday, my first and last solo record is called Get Z to a Nunnery.
It's so fucking good. It's the greatest. It's the reason I wanted her to do this soundtrack.
And that gives you a pretty good window into the chaos within.
I am curious. Talk a little bit about what it was like working on this and coming up with this. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of work. Like what was this thing like for you?
Extraordinarily surreal. For me, it's the easiest thing I've ever worked on because I have never had a creative partner who liked everything that I did. Like the general theme with me is people don't like it. But I wrote all of this music based on the script. I didn't see anything. I wrote most of it while they were shooting. I didn't see any of it. It was just the conversations we had, and we had kind of a preliminary conversation about if the music existed somewhere between Julie Cruz and Leonard Cohen. I was like, babe, I got you. that's where I live. But strangely, I think the first time I saw this movie shot, I was just like, yeah, I know. That's exactly how I saw it in my head. And so it was, writing the music was, a lot of these, we would have a conversation about what scene they were shooting, and some of it was, he wanted to put a different song into the movie, like a Sybil Bayer song, and I was like, what if I just tried to write my own? And so we would have that conversation in the morning, and my musical partner who produced the record, Joe Keefe from a band called Family of the Year, he and I lived in this house that was all wired as a studio. And my boyfriend called it the house on Paper Street because Fight Club should be condemned. It's 110 years old, surrounded by a Target parking lot, a freeway off-ramp, empty lots, chaos. You can shoot guns and play drums until 4 o'clock in the morning. But also, you might die there.
You shot guns and played drums till 4 o'clock in the morning? Maybe.
But we had the whole house wired as a studio, so we would have a conversation in the morning. I would write a song during the day. We would record it at night until 4 o'clock in the morning, and we would send you something in the morning. And every time JT was like, yeah, I love it. I was like,
He would be playing, he would walk his phone up to my ear, and I'd be like, oh my God, we're so lucky.
The bar was so high because I loved her music already, and I was like, there's no way somebody can just spontaneously write shit that's that good. And I wanted it to be really haunting and memorable, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to be possible. I told you at one point, I was like, maybe we can just license music that I already love of yours, because I don't know if you can just tell somebody to if you told me to write something special as a script, I couldn't just do it. I'd have to come up with it. And so the fact that she started sending me music, and I would say, maybe put a Sybil Bayer song here or something, and she'd send me a song, and I kept telling Vonnie, I was like, this is so good. This is my favorite Z Berg song, and I already love all her music. And then she'd send me another one. I was like, this is my new favorite Z Berg song. And it was crazy. The first song you sent me, I think, was where she's running. It was
Day In, Day Out.
Yeah, Day In, Day Out, and I was like, "What the fuck?" People were like, "It's like somewhere between it should be like a James Bond movie." It was.
That's my specialty.
Yeah, it was.
Spy chords, baby.
It was so good. It was just the stuff was so good, and it was so much better than the temp placement I had in there, and it ended up just being. The music, specifically her songs, are like the life's blood of the movie. Really, yeah.
Will, I have a question, obviously, for you. You did such a great job in this, and I'm just curious, how nervous were you the night before the first day of filming, and you saw that schedule in front of you, and you see everything you're going to be doing, the running, blood on your ear, everything. And so what was that like for you?
I actually don't think I was that nervous the first day. I think the first day was we eased into it. The schedule, we started shooting with all the stuff at the hippie house. And the first day of shooting, we kind of shot that sequence in chronological order. And the first day of shooting was kind of a lot of me finding the house and running up to the house. And I was like, this is actually a great way to start. Like, it's a great way of like exploring the physicality in this costume for the first time. It was kind of a dream first day. Like, you don't always get that lucky with your first day where you like don't say anything, basically. Like, I didn't really have to speak on the first day. But what I was very, very afraid of was the fact that we were shooting the icebox scene, I think, like at the beginning-ish of the second week. Was basically like
Climax
what,
of the movie.
yeah, which was it's the emotional heart of the movie,
Yeah.
and like I knew that was like approaching rapidly, and I feel like it was definitely I don't know, it was something that like when I read the script for the first time I was like, oh well, that is what the relationship is, and that is who the character is, and if we don't get it right, then the movie doesn't work. And so I definitely remember being quite nervous. The day of, I was luckily able to sleep, and then we just got. I mean, we got it. I feel like it was like one of those beautiful moments where it was kind of crazy because it was a very long scene, and we had to. We kept on running out of film in the middle of the scene.
Sorry.
And it turned out that we didn't have any mags that were long enough to shoot the whole scene at once. So, and that was probably because we said we didn't want to rehearse the scene, so we didn't know how long the scene was actually going to be. So it was our fault.
We totally rehearsed that
But
scene.
we didn't rehearse it like with the amount of time, like we read through it.
Yeah.
We didn't like rehearse it. And so we were basically like shooting the first part of the scene, and then we would have like the mag run out, and then we'd roll back to the beginning of the scene, we'd start again.
Still shoot film.
Yeah.
Please stop.
We'd go back to the beginning of the
was
scene,
fun.
and then we'd like pick up with the scene halfway through, and then we continue to the rest of the icebox scene. And so that was crazy. But we got to the end of the day, and I think that we all were like, whoa, we like did it. And it was a very special moment because I feel like as an actor in that moment, it gave me like this huge amount of freedom where in some ways I knew that I had like kind of done the job and I knew where it was going, and everything else kind of became so much more open and so much more free because there was like this fundamental touchstone that we had like just nailed. And
You nailed it. Yeah. As you can tell, I don't like to cut away when it's seriously. Yeah. We almost never cut during that scene because of that performance. As you can tell, like we could have gone to the reverse shot. We just don't.
yeah.
Like,
But I
and
mean,
it's because
Kyle
of how
so
great she
fucking
was.
good.
Yeah,
like that was like
yeah.
I mean, I remember shooting that scene. It was just like that scene was possible because of Kyle. Like, if Kyle hadn't been there, if I was like doing it to a piece of tape, it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Like that was the beauty of that scene. Was like Kyle.
Isn't Kyle Gallner great in this
Yeah.
movie? Yeah. Everybody, thank you. He's not here, unfortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my most nervous day.
This question is not for Z. This is for
Anybody but Z.
well, you'll understand when I ask
What
the
did I
question
do?
because you were not on set. So this is a question about being on set, or maybe you were there. But what for the three of you? What shot or sequence during the filming was like the real pain in the ass? The thing that you know what I mean, like
Which wasn't. Can we answer that?
Sure, but I want to do it without spoilers, if possible.
God, wow. I don't know. There was, there were, I guess some logistical issues.
The river sequence, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that the
river
one that was the
sequence
toughest?
Didn't end up
Yeah.
in the movie.
Oh, it wasn't in the movie.
no, we actually didn't shoot.
They cut the whole fucking thing.
Oh God! Oh no! I know there's something that I don't know. There were. I think I have to say. I think for both of us, and I don't know how much, but every day really was a challenge. I'm very, very particular to this project, but
Not about us
No,
with
not
each other.
about us.
It
No,
was
no, no.
all of us. It was
Yeah,
really
no,
great to work with
yeah.
everybody we were working with.
But-
It was just
but-
external challenges.
I will
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that I think that it was also something that I needed. I was so excited to go to work every day. And it was. I think part of that was because at the end of each day, and really because of JT and the cast, it was just the attitude of just focusing and getting back up on your feet and going and finishing the day. and figuring out solutions and the overcoming of barriers towards not unknown goals, or whatever that saying is. So for me, it was that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, technical, logistical stuff, whatever. Everything is technical and logistical.
Wait, the question was, what was most challenging?
Yeah, like was there a shot or a sequence that was just like, oh fuck?
I mean, I can say one thing, that there's a single take following Kyle through the house. It's a Steadicam shot. And we always knew, I mean, it was written that way. We talked about doing it months before we even shot the movie. It was going to be a single take all the way through the house, and he's shooting, and we had to, it was really fun, I think, to like set that up, because we had the effects guy setting up gunshots in the boxes, and everything had to be coordinated perfectly, and that's like what I live for. It's so much fun, and Giovanni is getting his Steadicam guy to execute it was something he had to pre-light the house and pre-rig everything the night before, and it was a big thing. And so I think the big challenge of that day, although I knew it would work, and it did, we left it in the way it is. We weren't going to shoot like stitching coverage or we weren't going to have any safety net when we shot that. But when we were doing it, I knew the plan was going to be like we were going to spend half a day rehearsing the shot, because we're shooting film. So we were going to spend half a day rehearsing it, and then half a day getting 3 or 4 takes, and that's it. And then that takes care of 5 pages or something, right? And we start rehearsing, and they're like, "Why don't you have a shot off yet?" Like the studio's calling from LA. We're like,
no, they were there.
Yeah. Was that the day they were actually there?
And I was being timed.
There was a rep there, and they're like, the reason we don't have a shot off is because
and we had to empty the truck.
They're like, we need something shot here.
Yeah, so it was 7 rooms to light in like an hour and a half.
It was beautiful. I mean, the work he did was absolutely stunning, and I knew he was going to execute it, and the actors had to do it right. Everybody had to do it right, and those are the moments, It's like when I was a kid watching Goodfellas and seeing that scene in the kitchen, and it was like, I want to do that someday, And so I knew that was going to work, and when they saw the footage, they were like, "How are you going to put this in the movie?" There's no stitching coverage, which is essentially like shots that you have to get so you can cut if we need to cut. And we didn't want to get it, but we did it because they asked us to do it. But then Bill Block gave us final cut and the big scenes in there. But I think it was just challenging because nobody really understood what we were trying to accomplish on that day.
But also, to be fair, I just said something to people. I think, if you're making movies, and people who know this in film, you're always being timed when you're setting up a shot because you have a schedule, and people are like, you said you were going to be done by this, And so there is a certain thing. But I think there was definitely a lot more pressure that day. I mean, they were there looking, and it was just insane.
It was a weird thing but that was a strange day for me because there were other days where they'd be like, "Can you guys get a shot?" And I was like, of course, like I understand you want us to get some footage. But that day I knew what our plan was.
Yeah.
And I knew that what we had to do is be meticulous and get it right, and then roll film. And so the beauty is that now, after the film was finished, Bill Block and all, everybody at Miramax is like, "Oh, this is so cool. Like now we get what you were doing that day." But so few people are shooting film now on these budgets. There's a lot of people shooting film lately on bigger movies and stuff, but so few people are shooting film on these low budgets that I think a lot of producers, financiers aren't used to it. Mm-hmm. So they forget that we're not just going to shoot and then find the movie in the edit. We're gonna meticulously plan and get the shot. So to me, that was the day I remember as being the most like stressful, as far as us getting what we needed to get in the can.
It'll be easier for you on the next one.
Thanks. I hope so.
There's an interesting thing that because you had mentioned your first day and talking about that, but for me, I remember the 3-4 days leading up to production of you guys in the makeup trailer, and because it's just like a comment on your transformation, even as you sit here now, it's just so extraordinary to me as an actor. I look at that and I'm just like, wow. I mean, really amazing. And to come out, because I know that you guys were going back and forth, and then you were getting a haircut, and then you were getting.
She didn't want to get a haircut at first,
and then
but
you were
then
getting another haircut. I think you had 5 haircuts.
No,
And
then
they
I get
were
a text in the morning,
destroying-
I got
and
the
yeah,
haircut.
I know. I've been there where you're looking in the mirror and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Okay.
This is what I'm going to look like.
She was amazing.
Holy why?
It was a war of attrition.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
it was
But
because
talk
first it
about
was
that,
we're gonna
yeah.
bleach your whole head.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and then we're gonna give you a haircut. And I was like, okay. And so like I got a haircut, and they were like,
She
but
didn't know me yet either.
I
It was
didn't.
like you had no
There was
trust.
no
When you were
trust
talking
yet.
about a
We hadn't
haircut,
shot anything.
it was
I
like
was like blind
shears,
faith.
yeah.
So that was maybe my most challenging day.
No, but it was
Thank you.
I really get stressed about my hair.
No, it was incredible because the other thing is,
March over
a lot of
here.
people don't know this, but I tell people, I don't know this, is that JT has another job, and he has one of the most successful haunted houses and in the world. It's
Freakling Brothers, everybody, in Las Vegas,
Freakling
Nevada.
Brothers. No, and it's and for the month of October, he's off going and doing that, and a lot of it is writing and building characters and stories in this experience. And so he's somebody who understands what a Halloween costume is, or so what and the iconic nature of that. And this was something that was amazing for me to see.
And yeah, that is one of the first things I said when we first watched it, of like, I can't wait to be this bitch for Halloween. Because what's so amazing is watching that costume be composed within the story. It's like, it's like Superman's cape. It's like you see all of these things fall into place, and it's so satisfying when you like.
It's fun. It is one of the interesting things about the story is that this uniform is being cultivated throughout these nonlinear chapters, and you understand what, at the, obviously she is the way she is, but then the scrubs and the, all of that.
Well, and I've realized it's very fun for me. I've seen this movie now like 200 times.
Jesus.
It's a lot, but I like this movie so much every time I see it. I love it every time I see it. And, you'll never get that first watch back where you don't know what's happening. But after that's over, when you watch it and you get to watch the construction, because to me that's very much what this movie is about. It's about storytelling. It's like, and it's even after 200 times, there's still some new thing I notice every time, and like that's like crack to me.
Well, I'm running out of time, but I do have another question or two. My only real thing was, who uses that much butter and syrup?
I'm a vegan. I don't eat that shit.
I was watching it, I'm like, that isn't a fuck ton of butter. Like, who is cooking with this? Am I doing it wrong? Like, am I supposed to use that much butter?
It's a standard American diet, man.
I'm messing around, but that was
And Ed and Barbara are both vegans, so it was an interesting day for all of us. It was funny. There's no real animals used in any of the cooking in this movie, but or the hams. They're not real either. But yeah, they were. That was impossible meat and
yeah, I'm just messing around.
Yeah.
I'm just messing around. So I love talking, and everyone who's been at a Collider screening before knows this. I love talking about the editing process because it's where it all comes together. So how did this possibly change in the editing room in ways you didn't expect going in?
It's weird. Christopher Bell is my editor, and he's much more than an editor. He's a collaborative partner, like Vonnie's become, and like everybody on this stage with me has become. And he's just a really special part of the process. If I sent him a pile of footage, he could make a movie out of it. And he could make a really good movie out of it, I think, if I shot enough footage. But he didn't need to do that with this one. He improved it for sure, like tweaked. But this movie is really, really close to how it was written. And my first film wasn't necessarily, sometimes you're finding things. This was, it was like a puzzle, and once I figured it out, it kind of had to be that way. And so I think his initial assembly, based on what we shot, which we shot what we wanted in the edit. I mean, we weren't, like I said, we weren't over covering anything. That scene where she's grabbing him and pulling him toward, and she's cuffed to that was a locked off, Michael Haneke inspired shot, and it was just sitting there, and that's what we did. And we didn't shoot a bunch of coverage or inserts or anything. And so when Chris got the footage, he was like, I know exactly how this needs to be, and he read the script, and I think the editor's assembly that he did in October or whatever was very, very similar to the final cut, maybe 3-minute difference that we had in May. It was just a lot of like back and forth and test screenings and convincing and all that. But for better or for worse, it's pretty much what it was on the page, right?
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I want to ask this, but I want to do it as spoiler-free as I can. So there's a oneer towards the end of the film. I'm not going to be specific where that oneer takes place, but it features, you're in the shot. And I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about filming that oneer.
Thank you so much for your wording. I appreciate that. There's lots of phones and stuff.
Yeah, but I love this shot, and just talk a little bit about filming it without ruining it.
That's almost impossible task. So here we go.
Right. I don't know if it's
want to know?
80 gallons of blood.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's actually. You want to talk? That was a special day. That was a special day for JT, I think, because we had another shot.
That was the most challenging shot. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there was some special effects makeup. There was a sort of, I guess you could say, a character that was more of an abstraction, depending on what your religious bent is, and that walked out of the trailer. And so it looked like, no offense to Comic-Con, but it looked like something that, somebody who it was not a professional makeup job that you would, and it was really unnerving. And so JT went to go give the special effects makeup artist some notes, and she was really unhappy, so she screamed, and I think she threw something in his face and stormed off the set, and then went. So then we didn't have a special effects makeup artist.
I wasn't being mean at all.
But then we had to shoot this scene, that had, I don't know, probably spoilers. I don't know.
Spoil anything.
And so there was the guy who was the visual effects guy on the movie, who said, well, I have some fake blood. And we thought, great. Well, you're saving the day. And
special effects.
But yeah, special effects, I meant to say. Yeah, so
and he had some blood
this massive
with a cannon
tank of blood, but he makes things blow up, and like does all.
And the shot has no blood, like the shot, and there's really no blood you see in that shot. But we thought there would be some bleeding in that shot.
Yeah. And so this is like something that you have one opportunity to do. The sun is setting, there's only one. And so we set the camera up on the side on a hostess tray, and then the blood started going
and going.
And it never stopped.
And going, and it never stopped. And so, yeah, it never
So I asked
stopped.
Willa to have dinner with me that
just
night, and she
started
said, I can't, I've got to shower for 8 hours.
Forever.
Everywhere. Anyways, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but hopefully maybe your imagination. Yeah.
First of all, this story is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And second of all, I have
Headlines.
so many follow-ups and no time to ask, and I don't want to also do any spoilers. That was amazing for a spoiler-free.
CRPR people up there going.
I know they're like, cut it, stop it, don't tell the story.
But you know something, what I love about what you just said is that's just a real story. That's the way filmmaking is. Shit happens, and you just got to make the best of it.
Yeah, and our special effects guy came in and, it was so
Delivered.
much. He delivered.
He delivered.
He definitely had a lot of fun.
So I have to stop asking questions, but I really want to say, and I mean this sincerely, you guys did great work. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm just happy you guys made this. And as I said earlier, and if you enjoyed the movie, there's this thing called social media. Please spread the word and without spoilers.